Dumelang Sanbonani, greetings family. I'm well. I hope you guys are well. I hope you had a good week. Hope this past week was good to you guys. Guys, we're still continuing with the basic conditions of employment. Today we're going to be dealing with the pay for work on Sundays. For those who work on Sundays. Number one, an employer must pay an employee who works on a Sunday at a double the employee's wage for each hour worked, unless the employee ordinarily works on a Sunday, in which case the employer must pay the employee at 1.5 times the employee's wage for each hour worked. Right? Number two, if an employee works less than the employee's ordinary shift on a Sunday, and the payment that the employee is entitled to in terms of subsection 1 is less than the employee's ordinary daily wage, the employer must pay the employee's ordinary daily wage. Number 3, despite subsection 1 and 2, an agreement may permit an employer to grant an employee who works on a Sunday paid time off equivalent to the difference in value between the pay received by the employee for working on the Sunday and the pay that the employee is entitled to in terms of subsection 1 and 2. Then number 4, any time worked on a Sunday by an employee who does not ordinarily work on a Sunday is not taken into account in calculating an employee's ordinary hours of work in terms of section 9, subsection 1 and 2, but it is taken into account in calculating the overtime worked by the employee in terms of section 10, subsection 1b. Number 5, if a shift worked by an employee falls on a Sunday and another day, the whole shift is deemed to have been worked on the Sunday, unless the greater portion of the shift was worked on the other day, in which case the whole shift is deemed to have been worked on the other day. So it depends on which portion. Number 6, an employer must grant paid time off in terms of subsection 3 within 1 month of the employee becoming entitled to it. An agreement in writing may increase the period contemplated by paragraph A to 12 months. Now let's deal with night work, those who work at night. Number 1, in this section, night work means the work performed after 6 p.m. and before 6 a.m. the next day. Number 2, an employer may only require or permit an employee to perform night work if so agreed, and if the employee is compensated by the payment of an allowance, which may be a shift allowance, or by a reduction of working hours. Right? Let's continue. An employer may only require or permit an employee to perform night work if so agreed, and if transportation is available between the employee's place of residence and the workplace at the commencement and conclusion of the employee's shift. Right, guys? Number 3, an employer who requires an employee to perform work on a regular basis after 11 p.m. and before 6 a.m. the next day must inform the employee in writing and orally if the employee is not able to understand a written communication in a language that the employee understands. Number 1, of any health and safety hazards associated with the work that the employee is required to perform, and of the employee's right to undergo a medical examination in terms of paragraph B. Then number B, at the request of the employee, enable the employee to undergo a medical examination for the account of the employer concerning those hazards. Before the employee starts or within a reasonable period of the employee starting such work, and at the appropriate intervals while the employee continues to perform such work, and transfer the employee to suitable day work within a reasonable time if the employee suffers from health condition associated with the performance of a night work, and it is practicable for the employer to do so. right? For the purpose of subsection 3, an employee who works on a regular basis, if the employee works for a period of longer than 1 hour after 11 p.m. and before 6 a.m., at least 5 times per month or 50 times per year, the minister may, after consulting the commission, make regulations relating to the conduct of medical examinations for employees who perform night work. Section 90 protects the confidentiality of any medical examinations conducted in terms of this act. Right? Then let's go to public holidays. Still with public holidays. That will be the last one on this video. Public holidays, in terms of section 2, subsection 2 of the Public Holidays Act of 1994, a public holiday is exchangeable for any other day which is fixed by agreement or agreed to between the employer and the employee. Number 1. An employer may not require an employee to work on a public holiday except in accordance with an agreement. If a public holiday falls on a day in which an employee would ordinarily work, an employer must pay, number 1, an employee who does not work on a public holiday at least twice the wage that the employee would have ordinarily have received for work on that day. Number 2, an employee who does work on a public holiday at least double the amount referred to in paragraph A, or if it is greater, the amount referred to in paragraph A, plus the amount earned by the employee for the time worked on that day. Number 3, if an employee works on a public holiday on which the employee would not ordinarily work, the employer must pay that employee an amount equal to the employee's ordinary daily wage plus the amount earned by an employee for the work performed that day, whether calculated by reference to time worked or any other method. Number 4, an employer must pay an employee for a public holiday on the employee's usual pay day. If a shift worked by an employee falls on a public holiday and another day, the whole shift is deemed to have been worked on the public holiday. But if the greater portion of the shift worked on the other day, the whole day's shift is deemed to have been worked on the other day. Alright guys, for now then we're done with that part. Again, I'll request, please share the video, share on your platforms, share, let's grow the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's keep it going so we're able to share the knowledge, we're able to empower each other. Any assistance that you require regarding some of these things, you can contact me on 084-436-1494, or can drop me an email on skosana9@gmail.com. Thank you very much guys. Have a good Sunday.